Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
It
Rex,
was
what do you
good.
think?
That's Shalom. That's Shalom. That's pretty, it's
Well, I was
pretty
texting
cool.
my wife.
How long is Sexual Mindfulness?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes, go
I was
ahead.
like, oh my gosh, it's an awesome show. You should check this one out. I thought this was really good. I really like where you said be generous with attention and presence. I think that's that really hits, I guess, and it reminds me a lot of what Dave has said before about just being the most important thing we can give our partners is our attention, and I think that's so true. And I like the way Dave says it, and I like the way you said it, and I thought that was really good. I have some more, but go ahead, Liz. You had something to say.
Oh, I
No,
apologize. Apologize, dear Rex. I was just curious. How long has sexual mindfulness been around? Because Shalom, until I met you, I had never heard this term.
Yeah. Well, interesting story. I was in my PhD program and was introduced to mindfulness, and I was studying sex, right, already. And I knew that one of the biggest enemies to sexual arousal is anxiety. And so mindfulness, the main point of mindfulness is to reduce anxiety. And so for my dissertation, I was the one who created the sexual mindfulness measure and validated it. And so it's kind of most of the research out there is my research.
It's yours. And when was this?
From about 2017 on.
Sweet. Wow.
Yeah.
Give you all the credit, Shalom.
Well, not all of it. I don't deserve all of it.
Well, thank you for forging the way. And how lucky for BYU that you are really bringing in new inroads with the sexual mindfulness. Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, BYU's been super supportive of this and my project, my intervention. I just feel like this is a message that is so needed today in our frantic, hectic world. We are really struggling to connect with other people. And these people mean so much, right? We're married. We love our spouse, and yet we struggle to connect. And here's just one way that may really help people overcome that struggle.
I think this is part, if I can just interject this, maybe why affairs happen. It seems like we put a lot more effort in those third-party relationships, you know what I mean, than sometimes our own marriages. Does that make sense, David Shalom? That we would take time out for that kind of dating, if you will, or energy, which feels so intimate, until it blows up, of course. But it's just rather titillating. Does that make sense, Shalom?
Yeah, I think one thing that I would add to that is that I think sometimes we engage in affairs because we are uncomfortable with the intimacy, the hard and the good intimacy of our own relationship. We don't really want to we don't want to face what's hard in our relationship. So we go to some easier, more surfacey relationship instead of digging down and really addressing maybe what's going wrong in the relationship.
Well, it seems like the dynamic too of a work relationship. Somebody mentioned this. One of our previous guests mentioned this. And I was like, that's so true. Is we're often nicer and more generous to the people we work with than we are to our spouse. And it's kind of that dynamic that kind of, I don't know if I want to say creates that, but can lead to that kind of thing. So I think that was a really good point. I also feel like you were talking about mindfulness and the idea of mindfulness is to reduce anxiety. And it also seems like anxiety is like the enemy of, I don't know if enemy is the right word, but it's counter to being vulnerable. And it seems like intimacy is all about being vulnerable. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that, especially in our social media culture that's just saturated in don't be vulnerable, just show how great everything is. It just seems like it's difficult for people to want to be vulnerable or just be vulnerable and expose, like you were saying earlier, here's the uglier side of me or the part I don't really know what to do with or I don't understand about myself.
Yeah, I agree. And like Liz said, I think at some level, mindfulness helps us be okay with anxiety, right? Because we're going to feel a little heightened anxiety as we open up and are vulnerable with our spouse. And that's to be expected. But mindfulness can maybe help us settle down a little so that doesn't overtake us and overwhelm us. Instead, it allows us to kind of move through that and recognize it, that it's just part of the process.
Is there a way to leverage anxiety? It's kind of a weird question.
I remember one thing, and Chelom, as you're thinking about that experience, I remember when I gave my TED Talk, there was a lot of anxiety, right? Especially I'm backstage and I know I'm going next. And I just remember repeating in myself when I felt anxious, instead of saying I'm so anxious, I'm so scared, so nervous even, I replaced it with excited. I just said, man, I am so excited. I'm so excited when I was nervous, but I just that little switch of like, I'm excited for this moment. I'm excited. So I don't know if Rex, if that's what you're looking for, but that's what first came to mind.
No,
when I put that
really cool.
twist on anxiety. It was like excitement for this. So that mental switch really helped me.
And it's how you showed up, Dave, in TED Talk.
Yeah.
I was excited, happy to be there. So
I like effective. That. I mean, that's really pivoting and rechanneling the energy to something positive.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, I like that a lot. No, that's a really cool story too. Thanks for sharing that. It's really good.
Other questions for Chelom?
That's what I'm trying. A million of, but
don't we though? How long do we have?
Like you said, how can we be both vulnerable though and confident? Does that question make sense? Because that kind of seems like a part of the tension in sexual connection is being vulnerable but confident at the same time, or comfortable.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that probably comes back to the level of trust that you have in the relationship, right? Can I reveal to you something that I myself am feeling some anxiety over? Maybe feeling like you may not think of me as highly as you did if I reveal this to you. But if we can do that in a relationship and be met with love, right, that's going to create, that's because there is a foundation of trust.
Do you have any tips for the person? I know there's like, okay, so the person, somebody, you have to be vulnerable, but what about the other person receiving like, wow, okay, that's different, or I wasn't expecting that, or what would be something you would say to somebody who's taking that in and how to react?
Yeah. I tell a story of one of my children coming to me and telling me something about themselves that they knew wasn't a positive thing. And I had been practicing mindfulness. So I'm going to, this is an easy story to tell because I responded well, actually. That doesn't always happen, but I just took a pause, right? So I think that the person hearing something that's unexpected can take a pause. And the thing that I said to my child was, thank you. Thanks for telling me something that must have been really hard for you to share. And I feel now like you're letting me be on your team, like you've let me in, and I really want to honor that. Right? So I don't think that you have to respond with a solution or whatever immediately. I think you just have to acknowledge what just occurred here, that you took a risk and said something that was hard for you. And wow, I feel honored that you would do that.
I think that's beautiful the way you said that. I'm on your team. Like you let me in on your team. You just totally open the door and let me come in and be a part of your experience or you and your team. That's a really beautiful way of saying that.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Well, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll hit stop and make sure we're all good. If I don't think anybody else had any questions, right?
Yeah, thanks so much, Shalom.
So Rex, the three of us, Shalom, Dave, and I were at the silver anniversary for the Utah Marriage Commission, and there were many people there. It was just fun, it was delightful, old friendships, and I so enjoyed myself. I'm so glad I was able to pop in. And there was a gentleman there standing there. I thought, I do not know who that is, so I went over and introduced myself. He said, "I'm sorry, I don't know who you are." And he goes, "Oh, well, I'm the former governor, Mike Levitt." I'm still embarrassed. It's like, of course you are. I knew Jackie. I knew Dave. I knew, oh, Shalom. Anyway, I walked away feeling hell like a little silly. But, I'm so impressed with the family and all that they have done to create Utah Marriage Commission. So we could even be here today, celebrating 25 years and also this podcast. Really a treat. Really lovely meeting you, Shalom. I'm so glad our paths have crossed.
Thank you. I feel the same way. You guys are doing amazing work. This is a good project and such an important tool to help support marriages.
I feel blessed to be a part
It's
of
our
it.
passion.
Yeah.
It's our passion.
Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a few minutes to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. When you hit the like button and leave a comment, your feedback helps us improve the show. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and connect with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and on Facebook at Stronger Marriage. Be sure to share with us what topics you want us to explore or what you loved about today's episode. If you want even more resources to improve your relationship connection, visit our website at strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producers Rex Polanis and Alexis Alcott and the team at Utah State University. And you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission